Today, we're diving into a medical mystery that's been centuries in the making. Seriously, it's a story that kicks off with what locals thought was a terrifying curse on one single island in the Philippines, and it ends in some of the most advanced genetics labs anywhere on Earth. This is the story of Lubag.
Okay, I want you to just imagine something for a second. You're young, you're healthy, you're in the prime of your life. But then one day, you feel a slight glitch in your step. Your jaw feels a little tight. You probably just brush it off. But then it gets worse. Your body starts to twist, contorting in ways you just can't control, almost like you're being pulled by invisible wires.
For hundreds and hundreds of years on the island of Panay, this horrifying condition had a name, Sumpa, which means the curse. People were convinced it was the work of sorcery, maybe a punishment from the ancestors. Families would literally hide their sick loved ones, absolutely terrified of the social stigma. But what was really happening to them?
I mean, you can see how the progression of the illness feeds right into that terrifying folklore. It starts with something so small, that little glitch, that tightness, but it just relentlessly gets worse. The neck pulls to one side, the trunk of the body begins to twist until the whole body is just locked in this painful knot. It gets so bad that even basic things like speaking or swallowing become impossible. It's really easy to see why people turn to the supernatural for an explanation.
And that, right there, brings us to the central question of this whole explainer. Is this really the work of a curse, something people have whispered about for generations? Or is the answer hidden somewhere else entirely? I mean, somewhere deep, deep inside our own genetic code.
So, the first real clue in solving this mystery isn't found in folklore, but in our own genetics. Scientists now have a name for this condition: X-Linked Dystonia Parkinsonism, or XDP for short. And the cause? Well, it's not sorcery. It's a tiny but absolutely devastating glitch in our biological instruction manual.
The villain of our story has a pretty wild name. It's called an SVA retrotransposon. Okay, so think of your DNA as this massive, perfectly written computer program, right? Well, this retrotransposon, it's like a piece of faulty code, a corrupted file that's been copied and pasted right where it doesn't belong. And in this case, it's smack in the middle of a really critical gene called TAF1.
This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures the problem. See, it's not just that there's an error, it's where the error is. This spam email basically interrupts a crucial instruction. It causes that TF1 gene to misfire, which stops the brain from getting a vital protein it absolutely needs to function correctly.
And this explains why the so-called curse is almost exclusively a male nightmare. So men, have an XY chromosome pair. That means we only have one X. If that single X chromosome is carrying the TAF1 glitch, there's no backup copy. The disease shows up. But women, with their two X chromosomes, they have a built-in failsafe. If one of their X's is faulty, the other healthy X can usually step in and compensate, making them carriers who typically don't get the severe symptoms.
Okay, so we've identified the genetic bad guy, but that's really only half the mystery. How does a teeny tiny error in a single gene translate into such a catastrophic physical transformation? To answer that, we have to travel from the DNA itself right into the brain. Welcome to the scene of the crime, the basal ganglia. Now, this isn't the part of the brain that decides to move. Think of it more as the critical control room that coordinates and smooths out our every single action. It's basically the logistics department for movement.
So just picture this logistics department, okay? The striatum, as you see here. It's kind of like the intake office. It receives all the orders for movement. Then you have the globus pallidus, which acts as a filter, and the substantia nigra provides the energy, or the dopamine. Well, in exo-CDP, that initial gene glitch in TAF1 causes the intake office, the striatum, to slowly break down and die off.
Now look at this. The difference is stark. In a healthy brain, the striatum is like a traffic cop. It's giving green lights to the muscles you want to use and red lights to the ones you don't. It's all smooth and coordinated. But in an XDP brain, as those striatum cells die off, well, the traffic cop disappears. Every signal starts firing at once. It's a total digital jam. You have muscles fighting each other, creating those incredibly painful twisting movements we know as dystonia.
So we've now connected the genetic glitch to the neurological breakdown. But this just opens up an even bigger, more baffling question. Why Panay? Why is this incredibly rare condition found almost exclusively in people with ancestry from this one specific island? The answer, it turns out, isn't in biology, but in history.
Yeah, we're about to unravel a 500-year-old story. The reason for this incredible concentration of the disease is a phenomenon that geneticists call the founder effect. It's this perfect storm of genetics, geography, and time. This timeline really lays it all out. It all likely started around 500 years ago with a single person, the founder, who happened to carry this specific TEF1 mutation. And because Pakian was so geographically isolated for centuries, that single genetic glitch was passed down and just amplified through generations within a closed-off population. In effect, Pakian became this lonely, accidental laboratory for a very rare disease.
So, we've traced the history, we've untangled the science, but what does all this mean for the patients who are living with this today? Let's take a look at the clinical reality and that long journey from a perceived curse towards a potential cure.
Medically, this disease is kind of like a two-headed monster that changes over time. It starts as what's called focal dystonia. That might just be some uncontrollable blinking. But then it generalizes, it spreads through the body, creating what patients call the knot. And then, in a really cruel twist, it can evolve into Parkinsonism, which is marked by stiffness and tremors.
Crucially, fighting this disease also means fighting the stigma. Just understanding that this is caused by a protein deficiency, not a spiritual punishment, is a huge first step. And while there's no cure yet, we do have ways to fight back. Botox injections can help relax those knotted muscles, certain drugs can help manage the Parkinsonism, and in some cases, a brain implant called deep brain stimulation can help regulate the brain's faulty signals. And this is where the real, tangible hope for the future lies. Researchers are developing these incredible things called antisense oligonucleotides, or ASOs. The best way to think of them is as genetic snipers. They are molecules designed to go into a cell, find that specific spam email in the TAF1 gene, and just silence it, turn it off, before it can ever cause any damage. This is about fixing the manual itself, not just managing the symptoms.
And that leaves us here. We've gone from a mysterious curse whispered in villages to a precise, molecular target on the X chromosome. The story of Lubag is just this powerful, incredible reminder of how far science has come. The question really isn't what is causing the curse of Panay Island anymore. The real question is, how soon can we use a genetic key to finally unlock it for good?